Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a nice time. Today I will show you guys how to cut a two-pieces sleeve step by step. That is a suit sleeve step by step. So if you want to cut a sleeve, this is the best video for you. However, this video just have a little bit of, I'm going to put a picture on the screen so that you can understand the kind of sleeve I'm talking about. It's a suit sleeve, but this one has a turn up on the wrist, but it does not affect you if you're cutting a sleeve. Just ignore the place in which I cut the turn up. And it is a functioning sleeve. As you can see, it's going to have a button hose and a button on the sleeve. As you can see, this is a left hand sleeve. However, this is my bodice itself. It is after I cut out and I do the cupping before I will apply it to before I will be applying the sleeve to the bodice itself. So I'll just have to pat the shoulder. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video and show you the cutting process of this step by step. So let's do that. So to get started, the very first thing I'll be doing now is I'm going to make a straight line. I'll be taking out 2 inches from the top of the fabric itself, and I'll be taking out 3 inches from the side also. You can see that. This side I'll be taking out 3 inches because I'll be taking the inner part of the sleeve. Okay, I'm just going to cut that in another fabric so you guys can understand the basic very well. So I'll be taking out 3 inches from this edge also. You can see that. I want you guys to pay good attention to this video. This will be like a perfect, I will try as much as possible to make sure it's a perfect explanation that you're going to understand step by step. So even without getting there, just give the video a thumbs up, and if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, make sure you subscribe. So I'll just connect the 2 lines together here also. As you can see, I already doubled the sleeve. You can see that I already fold it into double, and this material is very nice. I'm going to show you the result of the full sleeve on the next video. I'm just going to upload the full video of the suit in the next video. So the very first thing I'll be doing, this is the measurement I'll be using for my sleeve. So the sleeve length right now, as you can see, let me focus the camera so you can see. The sleeve length is 24.5. You can see that. My elbow, which is my elbow here, that's the cuff side of your arm, that's 13 inches. That's the length, 13 inches. My bicep, which is my arm, is 16, and my wrist, which is my hand, 10.5. But I'm actually not sure of this bicep measurement. Either way, even if you have a bicep, I'm going to share a formula that you can use to get your bicep measurement here. So in order to take our wideness of our arm here, we are going to use our format in order to get that. So I want you guys to pay good attention now. Let me zoom in closer so I can show you guys the process. So my chest measurement is what I will be using. My chest measurement is 39. Now to get my arm circumference, you can see that. Let me zoom in. My camera is a little bit blurry. Okay, so the formula to get my bicep now, which is 16, but in order to get, I'm not sure of this 16 inches, but I'll be using this formula to get it out. My chest is going to be 39 divided by 2. Let me zoom in closer. I think okay, better. My chest divided by 2, which is going to be 39, which is going to give me 19.5. That's 39 divided by 2. Now 19.5. So now 19.5 divided minus 2. 19.5 minus 2, which is going to give me 17.5. So the 17.5 now is now your accurate bicep measurement. That's your accurate arm circumference when you're cutting a suit. Now 17.5 divided by 2. Let me use my calculator to get that, which will give me a total of 8.75. Okay, so now the wideness of our arm here is going to be 8.75 here. You can see that. So the wideness now is going to be 8.75. I'm just going to mark it here. And I'm going to mark it down here also. So I'm going to connect the two lines together. So the next thing we're going to do now is, this is now our wideness of our bicep. Now the next thing is our sleeve cap. So the first formula we did now is for our bicep measurement. The first formula is for our bicep measurement. So I'm just going to write it here, bicep formula. So the next formula we're going to use now is our sleeve cap. Sleeve cap formula. Let me zoom in closer. Okay, sleeve cap formula. Okay, sorry, my writing seems to be too fine, right? So my sleeve cap formula now, in order to get that, I'm still going to be using my arm circumference, right? That's what I'll be using here also. So for our chest, remember we use 39 divided by 2 is equal to 19.5 minus 2 inches, which gives us our arm circumference, which is 17.5. That we divided into 2, that gives us 8.75. So now we are going to bring down the 17.5 now. 17.5 divided by 2, which will give us 9.75. You can see that. So that 9.75, you're going to add a quarter of an inch to that, which will give you a total of 10 inches. I believe you understand that. 17.5 divided by 2, which gives us 9.75 plus a quarter of an inch. So now I want you to pay attention at this place very, very, very well. Here now, in order to get the 10 inches in which you just get, in order to place it right here. So this is how I'm going to place it. You can see my hand. It's not straight. I'm slanting it between the two lines. You can see that. 10 inches. I want you to pay attention to what I'm doing right here. I'm slanting it between my sleeve wideness. You can see that. 10 inches. And I'm going to mark it right here. You see what I have? That is for our sleeve cap. So I want you guys to pay attention. We're getting more into the flow and into the detailing of everything now. So after getting our sleeve cap, I'm going to make the same measurements I took here. Just measure it 5.5 and I'm going to mark it here. So I'm going to connect the two lines together now. You can see that. So after connecting the two lines together, I'm going to go down by 1 inch. I'm going to add an extra 1 inch to that line and I'm going to make another line there. Just like that. I believe you're paying attention. Now we have two lines, right? So in between my sleeve cap, which is the up part, I'm going to divide the two lines together. I'm going to divide it into two. You can see that. And I'm going to connect those two lines together. So we have 3 lines in between now, right? You see that? I believe you can see it clearly. You see what we have? So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the center point of my bicep. You can see that 8.75 divided by 2. I'm going to get the center point. Just right there, I'm going to mark it. And I'm going to mark it here also. So I'm going to connect it together too. You see what I have? And I believe you can see this clearly. I believe you understand the concept of how I get all these lines. The very first line we get is our 10, which is our sleeve cap. Remember that. I'm just trying to like recap so that you can understand. Then I mark it. I use it to make the first line. I add an extra 1 inch to this. You're going to use the same formula for anybody that you're making, and I divide the wideness of this place into 2, and I divide the wideness of my bicep also into 2 to get my center point. So that's what we have. So the next thing we're going to do now is here. I'm going to connect these lines here. From here to here, I'm going to connect it together. You can see that. Here also, I'm going to connect it together. So this is what I'm going to have. So the next thing I'm going to do now is my sleeve length. I'm going to mark out my sleeve length. And on my measurements, don't forget our sleeve length is 24.5. 24.5, right? So I'm going to measure my 24.5. You can see that. I'm going to measure it here also. So I can simply connect the two lines together. And on the design of the sleeve that I told you guys previously, that is going to have a turn up. So I'm going to add an extra 2.5 inches for the turn up. But if you're not doing that kind of a sleeve, just ignore my 2.5 that I'm adding here. So don't forget about that. So just assume it is not there and just continue with your normal length measurement, normal sleeve length, just like that, because it's still going to like end at the same thing. So I'm going to connect the lines together. You can see that, and this is my extension. That will be like my sleeve turn up, 2.5. Okay, this is what we're going to have. So let me make this line longer so we can have a way to work with. You can see that, and I'm going to make this one also. So after that, let me move the camera closer to this place so you can see what I'm about to do here. It's very, very, very important. So at this length right here, at this place, I'm going to come inside of the sleeve by half of an inch. You can see inside of the sleeve by half of an inch. So after that, I'm going to take my wrist measurement, wrist circumference. My wrist circumference is 10.5, but I'm just going to use, it's 10.5, sorry, I'm going to use 11 actually. So here I'm going to divide my 11 by 2, which will give me 5.5. So I'm going to mark 5.5 here. You can see that. So I'm going to go by half of an inch down. You see that? I'm going to connect the two lines together. You can see that. You can see what I have. We are getting somewhere. So after connecting the two lines together, now I'm going to make my curve. I'm going to join. I don't even know what I'm doing. Okay, let me just take the camera closer so you can see. I'm going to connect this line and this line together. Okay, so to do that, from inside of your bicep, I'm going to connect it. You can see that. So the next thing we are going to do now is our elbow measurement. That's very important. So in order to get that, on our measurement, I told you guys I have 13 for from my shoulder to my to the cuff part of your arm. That's going to be 13. But let's assume that possibly you did not measure that. So this is the simple way you can do that. So all you just have to do, if you don't measure your client, just use this basic formula. From your length, you know this is our accurate sleeve length, so you're not using the turn up part. So from here, from your sleeve length to that place, you're going to divide it by 2. You can see what we have. Whatsoever you have here, you're going to minus 1.5 from it. So if you want minus 1.5, this is where your elbow line is going to be. But basically, because I measured it, I'll be using the 13 inches that I have. Because I also use 24.5 as my sleeve length personally, so I feel like that will work. So on this 13 inches right here, I'm going to make a straight line. You can see that. So on that straight line now, I'm going to take it of an inch. It's not up to an inch, just like here. I'm going to take it out. So here I'm going to connect it together. Oh, what am I doing? I'm just going to connect it together from here. And I'm going to connect it to this one also. So you can see what we are having. Our sleeve is almost done. It's giving us that cuff shape right now. So after connecting that together, so let me come closer to this place so we can do our cuff. So from this first line right here, if you have your armhole cuff, you can use it. I'm going to use my hand to cuff this out, and I'm going to use my armhole cuff. So you're going to make your cuff. You're going to connect your cuff from that part to this part right here. You can see that. That's what you're going to have. That's our sleeve cap. You're going to connect the first line to the one in the middle. You can see that. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is from that place, I'm going to connect it to that third line. You can see that. My armhole cuff is not that kind round at that edge. You can notice that. So let me just use it either way. So I will have to like slant it in order to get the cuff that I want. So I would advise you to use an armhole cuff if you're doing this, definitely. So you can see that. So at this place, I'm going to be connecting it together. The armhole cuff is not giving me the shape that I want, so I will just use my hand. So just follow. You can see that. You can see what I have. So after that, I'm going to connect this upper one. Let me use the armhole cuff here. You can see what we have. So pay closer attention to the connection there. So from that upper part, which is the center part, I'm going to connect it to the line here. You can see that. So it's not just like a round circle. It is not round. You can see the shape. You can see the shape we're going to have now. So this is how it works. So I hope you understand the process of this. So we connect this one to this one, then this one to this one, and this one to this one, and the last one. I hope you understand. You can go back a little bit and rewatch it so that you can understand the flow. So the next thing we are going to do now is to cut out the extension of the cuff. The extension of the cuff. This is very important. So you have to pay attention to the flow. So here I'm going to add an extra 1.5 here. That's from the cuff of the arm. You can see that. Here also I'm going to add 1.5 inches to that. 1.5 inches. You can see that. And down here also I'm going to add an extra 1.5 inches. You can see. So I'm going to connect it together. You can see that, and I'm going to connect that place also. So this is what we're going to have. So from that line that we just connect now, I'm going to make it 3 inches outside. So it's going to come outside at 3 inches. You can see that. And here also I'm going to come up by 3 inches. And I'm going to connect the lines together again. You can see that. I'm going to connect it also. You can see that. It's very, very simple. So now in order to get these parts, I'm going to divide these two lines together. Look at this. You see this line right here? Just pay attention to this. These two lines right here, I'm going to divide it into two. You can see that. And I'm going to make a line at that place. So now from that place, our first line, that line coming from the top, you can see that place. You can use your armhole curve to do that curve right here, just from there. But I'm just going to use my hand so that you can understand it better. Following that line here, you have to like come down to your sleeve extension, just like this. You can see that. That is very, very, very simple. You see that? That's very, very simple. So that is our armhole circumference there, and that's our sleeve cap, and that's the center for the inner sleeve. That's the smaller sleeve. So we just use this one to cut out the smaller sleeve. The smaller sleeve. I'm just saying. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to take now is going to be my vent, which is the sleeve vent. That's for the functioning button. So here, remember I added an extra 2.5 inches for my turn up. So our sleeve is still ahead in the front. You can see that. So I'm just going to connect this by 5 inches by 1.5 ahead, like in the front. You can see that. That's important. I'm going to make my vent here. But basically, because I added an extra 2.5 inches to that part, don't forget that is very, very important. So I have to like increase the length of my vent. You can see. So around that place is going to be my turn up, which is 2.5 inches. But if you're not adding a turn up to your sleeve, don't forget you don't need to. You just have to like take out your vent, which is 5 inches height and 1.5 inches to the front. I believe you guys are understanding this. So I'm going to add the extra 5 inches outside of that. That's from the 2.5 inches that I took out. I'm going to take my 5 inches. That's the accurate sleeve layer, the vent measurement for the sleeve. So I'm just going to connect it. You can see that. Now we are going to have the vent itself is going to be a total of 7.5 inches. I believe you guys get that now. 7.5 inches. So I'm going to add an extra half of an inch for my joining here, because I will be stitching a fabric that will turn it up. But if you're not cutting that, you don't need that. Just mark your sleeve length and just follow the process after this one. So you see that. So this is what we're going to have so far. So what I'll be doing now is I'm just going to make a sewing allowance all around the sleeve. If you're cutting a suit, this is how they usually add sewing allowance. It is after you cut your accurate measurements, then you're just going to like do a straight and addition for the sewing allowance. If you haven't seen a video on how to cut a suit, I have like 2 suits in my video gallery. Just go and watch that and come back to the sleeve part. So I believe you guys are saying that. I'm just going to like make my sewing allowance all around, just like that. You can see that. So that's what we're going to have. That's our sleeve. So I'm just going to like cut it out now. In case you like the video, make sure you give it a thumb up, and if you're yet to subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit on the subscribe button. After we cut this out, I'll be cutting the inner one, which will be the inner sleeve. That's the smaller part of the suit sleeve, which is the second pieces. Don't forget that. So you have to watch the video till the end to have a good understanding of how to do that also. And in case you want to join our WhatsApp group, we make video tutorial once a week, which is for a private class. I'll put a link in the description below to our WhatsApp group, also to our Telegram channel. So let me just cut this out. Make sure you pay attention to where I'm cutting on the sleeve. You can see that I'm cutting the extra sewing allowance mark that I marked, right? Okay. You can see that. You can see that. So after cutting out our sleeve, you can see what we have. So this is what we're going to have so far. So the next thing we're going to cut is the smaller part, which is the second. This is the second pieces. So I'm just going to draw my fabric closer. You can see that. Make sure your fabric is aligned. You can see that. Let me just use one pieces of it. You can see. So to cut this out, you don't need to stress yourself. Let me show you the process. Very simple. All we have to do is just to trace out the smaller part of the sleeve. Just look at what I'm about to do now. At this point, I'm just going to trace it out. You can see that. And you can see that the one we are tracing out right now already has a sewing allowance. So at this point, we are following the first line here. You can see that line. That line is what we're following. That will be for the inner sleeve. I'm going to mark that. So the next one I'm going to do now is here. I'm just going to make a notch here. Balance your sleeve back. Also that point there. This one, you can see it clearly. This particular one. I'm going to make a point there also. You can see. Make sure your sleeve is balanced. This place also, I'm going to trace it out. You can see. I'm going to make a connect there. And also at that center point of the cap, you can see we have our shape looking like this. At the center point of the cap also, so I'm just going to make a notch at that place also. You can see that. So I'm going to make my curve. You can see that. And here also I'm going to connect it together. As you can see, we already had our sewing allowance on that side. So I'm going to connect these lines together. You can see that. So I'm going to add my sewing allowance to this side. You can see that. It's very, very, very simple. So I'm simply going to cut it out. So far I believe you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you're cutting out outside of your allowance. You see that? You can see that. You can see that. You can see what we have so far. And I believe you guys enjoyed the video. So that's the second pieces of the sleeve. You can see that. So now we have our sleeve. So that's about it on cutting a two-piece sleeve. You see what we have? It's very, very, very simple. So if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. So that's where we're going to stitch, and we're going to like make our sleeve cap at that point. So that's about it on how to cut this, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a thumb up, and I will see you guys on my next video. Peace and enjoy yourself.